In military terminology, a squad is a sub-subunit led by a non-commissioned officer that is subordinate to an infantry platoon. In countries following the British Army tradition, this organization is referred to as a section. In most armies, a squad consists of 8 to 14 soldiers, and may be further subdivided into fireteams. The equivalent to squad is the Gruppe, a subunit of 8 to 12 soldiers, in the German Bundeswehr, Austrian Bundesheer and Swiss Army. Presentation standard NATO symbol, squad, in NATO armed forces, 2 single dots, respectively. A lying rectangle with 2 dots above on military maps. Organization: United States Army. Historically, a squad in the U.S. Army was a subunit of a section, consisting of from as few as 2 soldiers to as many as 12, and was primarily used for drill and administrative purposes, the smallest tactical subunit being the section, which was also known as a half-platoon. Depending upon the time period, the squad leader could be a sergeant, a corporal, a lance corporal, a private first class, or even a senior private. In 1891, the U.S. Army officially defined a rifle squad as consisting of 7 privates and 1 corporal. The U.S. Army employed the 8-man rifle squad through World War I and until the late 1930s under the Square Division organizational plan, in which sergeants continued to lead sections consisting of 2 squads. Under the Triangular Division organization plan in 1939, rifle squads were no longer organized into sections. Instead, the squads were reorganized into a 12-man unit of 3 elements, or teams, Able, Baker, and Charlie, reporting directly to the platoon leader, assisted by a sergeant assigned as the platoon sergeant. The squad leader was still only a corporal, but the squad was also assigned a PFC as the assistant squad leader. While not a non-commissioned officer, the PFC was an experienced soldier, as prior to World War II the majority of enlisted men remained privates for the entire term of their enlistment since promotion opportunity was scarce. However, the obvious command weakness of so large a squad under one NCO rapidly became obvious in light of the pre-war mobilization and was corrected in 1940 when a second NCO was added to the squad. This adjustment raised the squad leader to a sergeant and the assistant squad leader to a corporal. The platoon sergeant now became a staff sergeant. This squad organization included 2 men serving as scout, who along with the squad leader formed the security element, designated as Able. Quote, "The second element was a 3-man Browning automatic rifle team consisting of an automatic rifleman, an assistant automatic rifleman and an ammunition bearer. This element formed the base of fire and was designated as Baker." Quote, "Lastly, there were 5 riflemen and the assistant squad leader, who formed the maneuver element, designated as Charlie." In 1942, the Army had a massive restructuring of its tables of organization and AMP equipment and increased the rank of the squad leader and assistant squad leader to staff sergeant and sergeant, respectively. The barman and the senior rifleman of the Charlie element became corporals and de facto team leaders, even though not officially designated as such. After World War II, in 1948, the Army decided to downsize the rifle squad to a 9-man organization, as post-war analysis had shown that the 12-man squad was too large and unwieldy in combat. The squad leader was again called a sergeant. The 2 scouts of the Able element were eliminated with the idea that all of the riflemen should be able to perform the scouting duties and would therefore all share in the associated inherent risk of the position. The Baker element's ammunition bearer was also eliminated, leaving the 2-man BAT team as the base of fire, supervised by the assistant squad leader, but remaining as a grade and 4, since the rank of sergeant was then eliminated. The 5 riflemen of the Charlie team, now led by the squad leader, remained as the maneuver element. Also, in 1948, the rank title of the platoon sergeant changed from technical sergeant to sergeant first class, and the rank title of first sergeant was again eliminated, being retained only as an occupational title for the senior NCO of a company. In 1951 the pay grades were reversed, with master sergeant becoming E7 and sergeant first class becoming E6, so that the squad leader became a sergeant and the assistant squad leader a corporal. In the 1956 the Army began reorganizing into its Pantomic Plan under the ROCID-2 and AMP-S. The rifle squad was reorganized into an 11-man organization with the sergeant as squad leader and 2 5-man fire teams. Each fire team consisted of a corporal team leader, an automatic rifleman, an assistant automatic rifleman, a grenadier, and a scout rifleman. The assistant squad leader position was eliminated, with the senior fire team leader now filling this role as needed. In 1958, with the addition of the E8 and E9 pay grades, the ranks of the squad and fire team leaders changed again, now to staff sergeant and sergeant respectively. The 1958 restructuring restored the traditional sergeant and staff sergeant rank insignia of 3 chevrons and 3 chevrons over an inverted R, respectively. Under the road structure in 1963, the rifle squad was reduced to a 10-man organization. This iteration of the rifle squad retained the 2 fire teams but eliminated the 2 scouts, instead providing the squad leader with 1 extra rifleman who could be used to reinforce either fire team or assist the squad leader as required. An exception was in mechanized infantry units, where an additional rifleman was assigned as the driver of the squad's armored personnel carrier. Currently, U.S. Army rifle squads consist of 9 soldiers, organized under a squad leader into 2 4-man fire teams. The squad leader is a staff sergeant and the 2 fire team leaders are sergeants. Mechanized infantry and striker infantry units are equipped with M2A3 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and M1126 striker infantry carrier vehicle, respectively. Unlike the road-era mechanized infantry units, none of the vehicle crewmen are counted as part of the 9-man rifle squad transported by the vehicles. The squad is also used in infantry crew-served weapons sections, military police, and combat engineer units. United States Marine Corps. In the United States Marine Corps, a rifle squad is usually composed of 3 fire teams of 4 Marines each and a squad leader who is typically a sergeant or corporal. Other types of USMC infantry squads include machine gun, heavy machine gun, LWCMS mortar, 81mm mortar, assault weapon, anti-armor, and anti-tank. These squads range from as few as 4 Marines to as many as 7, depending upon the weapon system with which the squad is equipped. Squads are also used in reconnaissance, light armored reconnaissance, combat engineer, law enforcement, Marine Security Force Regiment, and fleet anti-terrorism security team companies. United States Air Force. In the U.S. Air Force Security Forces, a squad is made up of 3 fire teams of 4 members each, led by a senior M and a staff sergeant and either a staff sergeant or tech sergeant squad leader. USSR. In the Soviet Armed Forces, a motorized rifle squad was mounted in either a BTR armored personnel carrier or BMP infantry fighting vehicle, with the former being more numerous by the late 1980s. BTR rifle squads consisted of a squad leader, BTR commander, senior rifleman, assistant squad leader, a machine gunner armed with an RPK-74, a grenadier armed with an RPG-7, a rifleman, assistant grenadier, a rifleman, medic, a rifleman, a BTR driver, mechanic and a BTR machine gunner. BM BMP rifle squads consisted of a squad leader, BMP commander, assistant squad leader, BMP gunner, a BMP driver, mechanic, a machine gunner armed with an RPK-74, a grenadier armed with an RPG-7, a rifleman, assistant grenadier, a rifleman, medic, a senior rifleman and a rifleman, all armed with AKMs or AK-74s. Within a platoon, the rifleman in one of the squads was armed with an SVD sniper rifle. In both BTR and BMP squads, the vehicle's gunner and driver stayed with the vehicle while the rest of the squad dismounted. Fire service in the United States. A squad is a term used in the U.S. fire and EM services to describe several types of units and/or emergency apparatus. Oftentimes, the names squad and rescue squad are used interchangeably. However, the function of the squad is different from department to department. In some departments, a squad and a rescue are two distinct units. This is the case in New York City, where the FDNY operates 7 squads. These special enhanced engine companies perform both truck and engine company tasks, as well as hazardous materials mitigation and other specialty rescue functions. FDNY's 5 rescue companies primarily mitigate technical and heavy rescue incidents, and operate as a pure special rescue unit. Squads and rescues within the FDNY are part of the department's Specialty Operations Command. In other departments, a squad is a name given to a type of apparatus that delivers emergency medical services, and is staffed by firefighter EMTs or firefighter paramedics. This type of service delivery is common in the greater Los Angeles area of California, and was made famous in the 1970s show Emergency, where the fictional Squad 51 highlighted the lives of 2 firefighter paramedics of the LACOFD. The squad, or section, was the basic unit of the National Revolutionary Army, and would usually be 14 men strong. An infantry squad from an elite German-trained division would ideally have 1 light machine gun and 10 rifles, but only one of the 3 squads in a non-elite Central Army division would have a light machine gun. Furthermore, the regular Provincial Army divisions had no machine guns at all. Leadership. A squad is led by an NCO known as a squad leader. His/her second-in-command is known as an assistant squad leader. In Britain and in the Commonwealth, these appointments are known as section commander and section 2IC, respectively. Squad leader in the military. A squad leader is a non-commissioned officer who leads a squad of typically 9 soldiers or 13 Marines in a rifle squad, or 3 to 8 men in a crew-served weapons squad. In the United States Army, the 2 and AMP-E rank of a rifle squad leader is staff sergeant, and in the United States Marine Corps the 2 rank is sergeant, though a corporal may also act as a squad leader in the absence of sufficient numbers of sergeants. Squad leaders of crew-served weapons squads range from corporal through staff sergeant depending upon the branch of service and type of squad. In some armies, notably those of the British Commonwealth, in which the term section is used for units of this size, the NCO in charge, which in the British Army and Royal Marines is normally a corporal, is termed a section commander. Ranks. Typical ranks for squad leaders are Australian Army, Corporal; Austrian Army, Wachtmeister, Oberwachtmeister; Brazilian Army. In the Brazilian Army, a Gruppe de Combat is a platoon subdivision and is commanded by a 3rd sergeant, as in a U.S. Army squad. British Army, Corporal; Canadian Army, Sergeant or Master Corporal; Croatian Army, Sergeant or Staff Sergeant; Danish Army, Sergeant; Estonian Defence Forces, Seersant or Norumviibel; Finnish Army, Alikursanti or Kursanti; German Army, Feldwebel or Oberfeldwebel; Israel Defence Forces, Sergeant or Staff Sergeant; Norwegian Army, Sergeant; Portuguese Army, the Esquadra is led by Cabo; Royal Netherlands Army, sergeant; Royal Netherlands Marines, corporal; Russian Army, junior sergeant to sergeant; Slovak Army, rotny; Spanish Army, cabo first sargento; Swedish Army, sergeant, first sergeant; Swiss Army, Wachtmeister; Turkish Army, Kavis; U.S. Army, staff sergeant to sergeant; U.S. Marine Corps, sergeant to corporal. Other military uses. A squad can also be an ad hoc group of soldiers assigned to a task, for example, a firing squad. The Canadian Forces Manual of Drill and Ceremonial defines a squad as a small military formation of less than platoon size which is adopted to teach drill movements. However, the manual provides direction for drill movements to be taught in movements, parts, or stages. The format of the commands in the manual has given rise to a prevalent belief in the CF that these stages are called squads. This groupthink has such strength that phrases such as, for ease of learning, this movement is broken down into squads, are commonly used during periods of drill instruction. In actuality, were the lesson being given to a platoon, company or parade, the word squad would be replaced by the appropriate unit. Thus, these stages, parts, or movements should not be referred to as squads.